Talk some Brooklyn Nets. Sure, Kyrie Irving only played 29 games this season. Yeah, they got swept in the first round of the playoffs, but not stopping Kyrie from making some pretty bold predictions. Take a listen to this.
Right now, it's just focused on a personal resume of, I like to put together 4 straight years of just team dominance, winning 60-plus games, going deep in the playoffs, and having fun building relationships that don't just extend on the court. You know what I mean? It's a trust off the court that helps us win games and helps us win championships.
And I would like to be in perfect shape without doing any exercise whatsoever. We can all have our want list. Nick, what was your reaction to Kyrie's comments?
You're already there. Give yourself some credit, Jenna. Come on. You've dealing with a broken foot. You look as amazing as ever. All right, I got a quick story for my colleagues here. And I'm not supposed to talk about my own personal athletic career, but I will break that rule just for a moment. I was 7 years old, first day of machine pitch baseball. My dad loves this story. He tells it all the time, making fun of me 30 years later. First day of machine pitch baseball, step up to the plate, first swing, hard hit ground ball to third base. Getting ready to take second swing, and I stop it, again, my dad says. And I turn to my dad, and I say, hey, you see that house? And there was a house. There was a baseball field, a forest, and then a house. It must have been 1,000 feet away. He's like, yeah? I was like, will I get in trouble if I break a window in that house? And my dad said, let's worry about getting a base hit first, son, and then we'll worry about if you're going to become the greatest power slugger in baseball history. That's a funny story. It's kind of a cute story. Shows the innocence of a child. I was 7. That's what Kyrie Irving's saying here. Hey, Kyrie, let's focus on 4 straight weeks of dominance. Then we can get to maybe 4 straight months of dominance. And then maybe we can talk 4 straight years of dominance for a fella who in his entire basketball life, aside from the 3 years with LeBron James, has played a total of 9 second-round playoff games and 0 games past the second round. Let's worry about a solid, consistent month before we get to a presidential term of dominance. However, Brew, and listen, I understand I am nothing more than a mere puppet being hung by string by the puppet masters. I get that. However, I will still give Kyrie credit. I don't think he is a dumb guy. I think at times he's naive and he has some very interesting opinions, but I think he is thoughtful. I don't think 4 years was a random number he pulled out. I think 4 years is the length of about a max contract. So let's get 4 years. And you know how we could get those 4 years? I got to be on the team for us to have those 4 years.
Smart.
And, I understand Kyrie, Brew, is negotiating with himself because, he appointed himself assistant GM. However, somebody else is going to have to sign the contract or else tax-wise it gets all convoluted. You're going to pay yourself. What do you do? Do you have to contribute the employer contribution to the unemployment insurance, all that? So I think Kyrie's sly like a fox here. I also think he's out a little over his skis, as he sometimes is.
Well, look, I think that on the one hand, I'm happy to hear Kyrie say this. I'm happy to hear him speak in terms of team winning. I'm really happy about it because I could look at Kyrie's history, particularly over the last few years, and really wonder, does this guy really care about winning? Does this guy really care about, going on and even greatening his legacy, improving his legacy? Because when you look at the fact that he wouldn't take the vaccination, and that's a personal decision, but guys like Andrew Wiggins and others had, issues with it too, and they took it for the team. Particularly when you say you're not anti-vax. Okay, so that the year before, just taking off weeks here and there for personal reasons or because there was, what happened on January 6th, things like that. Like, all of those situations make you say, is Kyrie just content to go out there and hoop, have some fun, show off his handle, score 25 points, and hoop? Like that. So I'm glad to hear him talk about really wanting to win championships, Wilds, and have a stretch of dominance. Now, Nick brought up a good point. Is he just doing this to let the Nets know, hey, I'm all in, let's get that max extension done? If I'm the Nets, and I mean this, I guess maybe I'd run teams differently than some of these dudes that might be scared of the players. But I would say, look, prove it. Prove it by opting into your contract. And I would say it nicely. I wouldn't get in his face like this, but I would say, look, prove that you mean this, Kyrie, by opting into your $36 million next season. And if it goes great, then we'll gladly give you the contract extension because we want 4 years of dominance too. But right now, we can't do it. And whilst I fear that for Kyrie, this, I don't even know if it's a revelation, but I'll give him the benefit of a doubt and say it's a revelation that really he wants to win. It might be too late. It probably is too late because Kevin Durant,
what do you mean?
Is 34 years old at the start of next season, and we saw against Boston, not quite, I mean, he's still great, obviously, but, you know, maybe he's getting toward the end. Kyrie is 30, okay? And we saw Marcus Smart give him some issues. James Harden is gone. Like, you had the chance for a great big three. That's gone because of you. And so even if he really sincerely, Wilds, is reflecting and saying, yes, and Ben Simmons having back surgery. Right, good point. So it might be too late, Wilds, even if Kyrie is wholly sincere, like, man, I've left some meat on the bone. It's time to go out here and really get this done. It might be too late for championships.
Let's live in the most optimistic world and most idealistic world possible for the sake of this conversation. And in life, we should, for the record. But let's say Kevin Durant just is back and as good as he was this year, next year. Kyrie, with a little bit of renewed focus, and he said he would never felt like himself this year, even though he's putting up 50-point games, 60-point games, said he would never really felt like he was in the groove. Let's say Kyrie comes back in his prime Kyrie, and he gives you 70 games, and Ben Simmons is peak Ben Simmons. Well, that's just 65 in that neighborhood. Do you still think, Broussard, that the Nets window is closed?
It's not closed. Now, first of all, that's a ton of ifs. Those are a ton of big ifs. Yeah. But with being optimistic, no, it's not closed. I will give you that. It is not closed. I said it might be too late, but no, I wouldn't totally shut the door.
Why don't you throw in, Wild, and if we're doing all these hypotheticals, Steve Nash goes to a Tom Amansky coaching boot camp, figures some things out. Brew, you're right. I also would do negotiations differently if I were running teams. I would personally say to Kyrie, Kai, we'll give you the 4 years, but we just read that you are the wealthiest active athlete ever because you have $1 billion in name equity. So we'd prefer for you to take a bit of a discount. I mean, no, listen, if your name's worth $1 billion, let's not screw up the Nets cap. You and Josiah are basically equal.